Peace, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Real Ops Podcast, man. I'm your host, Double R, and today we're gonna get into, a topic that's revolved around relationships. Is she your inspiration or is she your frustration? And before I get into it, man, I like to ask everybody who's viewing to please like, comment, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an upcoming episode of the Real Ops Podcast, man. Before we get into it, I got some keywords to drive home to make sure you're listening. And I want your ears to go up and hear these words because this is what it's all about, y'all. This is going to break down the breakdown. Communication, navigation, hesitation, revelations, inspirations, analyzations, limitations, tolerations, and rejuvenations. We got a lot of Asians going. Let's get into it, y'all. Communication is vital in our relationships, whether business or personal. The value, the power, and energy of our words serves as a GPS and navigational system. Double R, what do you mean by that? Well, think about it like this. Just like a GPS system usually offers more than one route to a single destination, we can also speak in various tones, and our deliveries can either be a shortcut to the driving point of that conversation, or we can be patient listeners and leaders, and we can take the familiar and longer course to assure nothing is misinterpreted, everything is being clearly understood, and the reasoning why we presented this whole argument or conversation in the form of communication was announced in the first place. Oftentimes as men, we kind of hesitate. We may tend to avoid saying or relaying certain things depending on our partner's level of understanding. And this is why, fellas, the power of whom we pick and choose is essential. I call it crucial. The power of the pick. As men, being patient, avoiding that lust, avoiding that sex, avoiding those things that serve as a distraction and initial engagement when we first meet these women, girlfriends or whatever to be. Those all those things serve as a distraction, fellas. And if we avoid those things, then eventually, just through conversation and good communication, it'll enable us to see if at all and how we may be equally yoked. You know what I'm saying? Because learning our partner and listening serves as revelations because it's going to ultimately reveal those things that are good or those things that are bad for us. And we've all, men and women, we've all been able to, get those signs and get those feelings in the spirit from the beginning, whether, this is going to be along the lines and within alignment of the direction to where I'm trying to take my life, or it's going to take me off to the left and I know I can't spend too much time with this person because ultimately it's going to keep me off of my purpose and away from the things that, I need to be doing. And that's why it's so crucial because it's like an energy source that we're plugging into. And that's what I mean by that power is going to be a power of inspiration. And if we plug into the right source, then it's going to be, something that empowers and help us live out our purpose. Or if that source is limited, if it's a limited power source, then it's going to lack some understanding and it's only going to lead to frustration and it's going to limit our abilities to grow, distracting and extracting the transformation that we can experience when we meet and when we connect with a true help me, fellas, because too often we ignore all these different things, and then you be talking to your boys instead of talking to God, and you be wondering why that this person ain't really, inspiring, or this person ain't really reciprocating the things that you trying to put down, and that's because the ambition of a relationship and ultimately moving too fast, too soon, can ultimately lead to an ambush on our character, our vision, and our purpose. And if we're not utilizing analyzation from the beginning, if we're communicating with a partner who doesn't value you, respect you, and doesn't have a common respect for the way your drive and your ambition and your goals is, that person can easily bring down the morale and ambition, causing us to lose the logic and lead us to our emotional selves. And even though this is based on communication and being able to be vulnerable, we don't think in emotional state. As men, we're logical leaders. We use logic and we apply logic to things where most women apply emotion to things. So once she got you in your feelings and you're all in your feelings, you in the world of trouble, playboy. You in the world of trouble. And what do I mean by that? That energy can keep us a place of logical limitations. Logical limitations where we do so much analyzing and thinking out of our emotions that we become paralyzed in our efforts to communicate at all. What do you mean by that? Constantly analyzing. Think about the last time you try to, sit down and have a real conversation. If she wasn't receptive, those things stain in the brain. When they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt, that's bull. Because when you're trying to be vulnerable with somebody, especially a woman, and you're trying to open up in that relationship, if she's not receptive to what you're saying, or she's not picking up what you're putting down, then now we're over analyzing and we're thinking about, well, damn, the last time I came to her and I tried to, let her know what was going on, she looked at me like, oh man, you a punk, or whatever it may be. And then those are things that we get stuck analyzing, and we become into a state of paralysis to where we can no longer, you know, move, and we can no longer communicate because we're so stuck on thinking, because she got us in our feelings, because she wasn't receptive and she didn't really pick up what we laid down, that now it's causing those things to delay our purpose. It's causing those things to delay our gratification. It's causing those things to delay our ambition. And those things are spilling over into our everyday life. So now, not only when we go out, and leave the house low on energy, low on inspiration, low on power, because we wasn't able to tap into the source that we plugged into at home, now we're fighting a losing battle because we can't even come home and recharge. And that state of analysis paralysis has us overthinking everything. Like I said, it spills over into our everyday life. So now we're no longer that charismatic, ambitious brother that got this drive because he goes home at night and his wife is able to recharge him and keep him going and keep him growing. Now we sitting out there, and everything in the world is starting to tap into our emotions. Where before we would use and apply logic, now we sitting back and we letting things affect us emotionally. And at that point, we pretty much lost it, you know. And at that point, if you with that person, you pretty much just in a state of toleration, to where you find yourself reliving the same conversations, the same frustrations, and you're just going to end up in a tolerable state, just putting up with somebody. And it may be because, if y'all married, it may be because you got the house. It may be because you bought her a car. It may be because y'all have a business together. It may be because just of material things that you provided. And now it's pretty much got you guys joined at the hip, when in either other situation, if those things weren't present, you would have been gone. You would have been slid. But now you're just in the state of toleration because you feel like, oh, we got these things together. Where you hear people say, oh, well, we together for the kids. You're not together for the kids if you're not the best version of yourself, and you're so stuck on analysis paralysis, and you as a man can no longer get out of your emotions and apply logic to be the best version of that man for your son or daughter, is a problem. You know what I'm saying? So what happens when you reach that state? There's no way to rejuvenate. There's no way to come back. So many men overlook the fact that what we provided in the middle, in a material state, will never rejuvenate or compensate for our absence in the home, or ignoring when we know something is wrong. Just like in the beginning, when we could see those signs to see if she's going to be aligned with the things I know, after we've been with that person, we can also see when things are out of alignment. And now she don't care when you're coming home. She don't care if when you get home you hungry. She don't care if you care that she going out again. She just don't care. So I mean, it just, that's one of those situations to where you hear till death do us part. At that point, it's dead. At that point, it's dead, because to me, till death do you part, it means when the death of the positive energy, when there's a death of respect for one another, when there's a death in ability to compromise, and the death of gratitude, the death of elevation, the death of the altitude, because you can no longer soar and grow to these heights that you once seen yourself be able to do, because those things is dead. And now ultimately at that point, it's a season where you need to start working on separation, because anything that's dead or anything that's not moving, you know, you got to be the best judge for yourself based on your particular situation, and know when it's time to hold and know when it's time to fold. And just based on my overall, my overall, what am I trying to say for lack of a better word? My overall survey, when I ask different brothers what do they think, most of the men over the age of 30, we agree. Yeah, for the most part, we can we can open up and we can be vulnerable and we can have that deeper level of communication and expression with most women, if and only if she's mature enough to listen, to build, and to show love in the form of respect. Because at the end of the day, men don't care about love. We interpretate love different than women do. Women interpretate love through their emotions. We interpret it through logic and a respect, and just being able to see how certain things are upheld and how certain levels of respect are either up here and down there. Because if they down here, you don't love me. If the respect is up here and we can talk about certain things, and you're not going to attack my ego or my manhood or my masculinity when I come to you and I'm in a vulnerable state because I'm dealing with all this stuff that I'm dealing with in the world, then ultimately we're going to interpret that as, damn, she really down for me. She really loved me. Just for one, she'll sit there and listen, and she won't always have a rebuttal or try to jump into different things when she knows that, man, I'm really trying to be expressive. I'm trying to come to her and plug in and really, really allow her to be that power source. So when I wake up tomorrow, I can go up and I can, you know, have a different perspective. And then that's a thin line though, because the line is drawn, and on the other side of that line is lack of accountability, immaturity, and the level of insecurity to where they're trying to avoid the truth and they don't want to hear no logic. So it's a personal attack. Anytime you try to build them up or whatever, because they don't know how to accept it, they've never really been truly loved or shown that love when they were younger from the man, uncle, dad, whatever it may be. They don't know how to reciprocate that. So what do? They attack your person. Oh man, you soft. What is you talking about? You better man up. That's something that they heard on TV, because as a man, a woman can never tell me what it is to man up. And it's just that simple. So the question was, ultimately, is she your inspiration or is she your frustration? And those are things that we got to really assess, and we got to really, know when it's time to hold a foe. We can't sit in them situations too long, especially, when I go over the key points, and the key points was communication. Think about the navigation. There's different ways to drive that point home. You know what I'm saying? We can try to take the shortcut, but it's not always the best route. Because think about the times when you try to take a shortcut, they give you a shorter route and they may tell you to get off the streets and travel along the freeway. But then when you, you know, gain an extra 3 minutes and then get ready to get back on the freeway, it takes 5 minutes to get back on the freeway. So you've ultimately lost time trying to take a shortcut. So we have to make sure that we navigating through things. And as men, we can't let that hesitation, you know what I'm saying, miss the revelation. Because if we hesitate to say certain things, then certain things will never be revealed in the beginning that we need to see. And if we plug it into the wrong power source, we can never receive that inspiration that we see, that we need to see. And if we overlooking all these other things and we analyzing things based on our emotions, then we're going to be stuck with logical limitations. Logical limitations lead to us sitting in a place where we just tolerate. We just being tolerable because we have these things conjoined at the hip, and we feel like, well, it's better to just stay and ride it out than leave. Nah, because at the end of the day, that's not how things were designed. We were designed as men to be the leader. She was designed to come into your life as the help me and help you meet your goals and help you meet your destination in life and be that sense of rejuvenation and inspiration. So at the end of the day, If she isn't your inspiration, then most likely she's your frustration. And that's just my take on it. Everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody's entitled one. But at the Real Ops podcast, this is what we're doing. We turning that those thoughts and that framework of opposition into opportunities. That's what the Real Ops is, where we turn opposition into opportunities. I'm your host, Double R, man. I hope y'all enjoying this episode. Inspiration, frustration. I hope you got some food for this. It's just thought. Y'all can do the dishes. Y'all can set up the table however y'all want to, but just understand those keywords. And if you miss something, feel free to like, comment, subscribe so you don't miss an episode and go back and take some notes because there was some jewels in the story, man. Once again, I thank everybody for tuning in because y'all can be doing anything with your time, but y'all chose to sit down and listen to a brother. So, peace, y'all. Until next time on the Real Ops Podcast, I'm your host, Double R. Stay blessed.